What's up, guys? My name is Stoody. I'd like to welcome you all back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my AFL Round 23 tips for the 2024 AFL season. So glad it's almost done and dusted this shit season. But anyway, before we get into this week's tips, let's go ahead and see how I went last week. So last week, I got 5 out of 9 correct tips, so a pretty shit week. But that moves me up to 148 total tips correct for 2024. So better than pretty much everyone. I haven't seen anyone even close to my tip count. So yeah, let's go ahead and see what ones I got correct and what ones I got incorrect. So here are the ones that I got correct. So I tipped Collingwood to defeat Sydney. That tip does count because Collingwood were robbed massively in that game. So that's a correct tip. I tipped Fremantle to defeat Geelong, but that does count because of match fixing. I tipped Port Adelaide to defeat Melbourne. I tipped Carlton to defeat Hawthorn. However, that does count as a correct tip, as that game was obviously rigged. There is no way Hawthorn would ever be able to beat Carlton in a real game of football. And I tipped St Kilda to rob Richmond. So here are the 4 I got incorrect. I tipped Brisbane to rob GWS Giants, but the GWS Giants were able to defy the match fixing. I tipped North Melbourne to rob West Coast, but West Coast were also able to defy the match fixing. I tipped Essendon to defeat Gold Coast, but Essendon choked big time. And I tipped Western Bulldogs to defeat Adelaide. I have no idea what happened in that game. I was unable to watch it because, I was on the train back from the Richmond St Kilda game. It is now time to go ahead and get into this week's tips. So on Friday night, we have Essendon taking on Sydney at Marvel Stadium. Now, if Essendon didn't choke against Gold Coast, my opinion would probably be different. So I'm going to be going Sydney in this one by 24 points. Sydney, they had to cheat to win last week. Sydney, they're no good. They're just lucky to have a piss easy fixture to end the season, which is why they'll finish on top. But I don't know if any teams that have finished on top have gone out in straight sets ever. But if that's the case, Sydney would definitely be the first if it hasn't already happened. Sydney, they're the worst first place team in history. How do you get smashed by 112 points when you're on top of the ladder and then have to cheat to defeat a pretty much VFL team at home? It's pretty pathetic, but they'll beat Essendon mainly because Essendon are chokers. And Essendon's season is over, so they've got nothing to play for. They might as well just tank Essendon for draft picks, really. That's all they're really able to do for the rest of the season. Moving on to Saturday afternoon, we have Gold Coast taking on Melbourne at Metricon Stadium. Going to Gold Coast in this one by 28 points. So both teams' seasons are over. But I think Melbourne are going to be more desperate to tank than Gold Coast are. Gold Coast are going to be looking to finish off strong because they feel like they're on the rise and they're probably a bit embarrassed by how badly this season's gone. You shouldn't have tanked 2 games to try and fuck over Richmond, You shouldn't have done that, mate. Look at what position you're in now. So I think Melbourne, they'll check out. They've had enough. Gold Coast, they don't lose at home, really, so they should be able to get the job done. Moving on to the other Saturday afternoon game, we have the GWS Giants taking on Fremantle at NG Stadium. Going to the GWS Giants in this one by 19 points. GWS have won 6 in a row, so they are the form team. They were just able to defy the match fixing against Brisbane, which was fantastic to see. Up against Fremantle, who are a tough opponent. I think if this game was in Optus, I'd probably tip Fremantle, but it's not. It's in Western Sydney, so I think the Giants get the job done here because they're on fire and it's at home. Moving on to Saturday twilight, we have Collingwood taking on Brisbane at the MCG. I'm going to Collingwood in this one by 16 points. Collingwood did beat Brisbane at the Gabba earlier in the year, so that should give Collingwood a lot of confidence going into this game. I do believe the umpires will definitely rob Collingwood in this game, but I am predicting Collingwood to defy the match fixing. Because it's at home for Collingwood. Brisbane are terrible at the MCG. I think Collingwood will be too good. Collingwood will still be desperate to make the finals. Whereas Brisbane, they're not as good as what everyone thinks they are. So I think Brisbane will lose this. And we'll go back to around about a ladder position. They probably deserve to be in lower half of the 8. Well, they don't deserve to be in the 8. But hopefully someone can knock Brisbane out of the 8 pretty soon. Moving on to Saturday night, we have Port Adelaide taking on Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval, so it is the showdown. Now, because of how many people have tipped this particular team, I'm going to tip them too. I'm going to tip Port Adelaide in this one by 1 point. It's just too risky to tip Adelaide because only like 28% of tip Collingwood, so I've already gone for that underdog tip. So I'm just going to go Port, even though I think Adelaide will win this one. And Port are in some decent form, but Adelaide just have the wood over Port for some reason. I think Adelaide probably won the last 5 or so against Port. It's insane, and Adelaide have been terrible during that time, whereas Port have been a top 4 contending team. Which is crazy. I'll go Port because of their form, because everyone else has tipped them. And Adelaide have nothing to play for, really. Both teams are in good form, but I'll go Port. Moving on to the other Saturday afternoon game, we have St Kilda taking on Geelong at Marvel Stadium. Going to Geelong in this one by 37 points. Geelong, of course, a piss easy fixture to end their year to gift them a top 4 spot. It's complete and utter bullshit. St Kilda, their season's over, so Geelong will be able to get over the top here, regardless of what stadium it's at. Plus, it's hard to tell what way the match fixing is going to go on this one, because St Kilda got severely protected last week against Richmond, and Geelong are always a protected team. I feel like they're most likely going to give it to Geelong because, you know, they're the ones contending for a top 4 spot, so they're going to want Geelong in the top 4, the AFL, so I reckon Geelong would definitely be protected. Moving on to Sunday afternoon, we have the Western Bulldogs taking on North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. Now, this is easy. I'm going to see the Western Bulldogs in this one by 117 points. The Western Bulldogs will be pissed off after last week's horrible performance against Adelaide. It's a bad time to run into the Western Bulldogs, North Melbourne, because the Western Bulldogs are going to fucking destroy North Melbourne. North Melbourne are complete and utterly useless, whereas the Western Bulldogs are a premiership contender. So I think the Bulldogs will absolutely tear North Melbourne a new one in what will be the easiest tip of the round. Moving on to the other Sunday afternoon game, we have Hawthorn taking on Richmond VFL at the MCG. I'm going to tipping Hawthorn in this one by a rigged amount. The only way Hawthorn can win their games is due to match fixing. And of course, the AFL have gifted Hawthorn a piss easy fixture to end their season to gift them a top 8 spot. It is disgusting to see. It really is disgusting to see. I'm telling you right now, if Hawthorn somehow win the premiership, I will quit the AFL community for the next season as well, not just next year, but I'll also quit for 2026. And not only will I quit the AFL community, I'll actually start watching AFL altogether. Hawthorn will be by far the worst top 8 side in AFL history. They're already the worst top 16 side in AFL history, so yeah, think about that. Moving on to Sunday twilight, we have West Coast taking on Carlton at Optus Stadium. Going to win Carlton in this one by 104 points. Now, Carlton will be desperate to save their season, so they will go to Perth and absolutely annihilate West Coast. I don't give a shit about their injuries. They're just going to smash West Coast, pretty obvious. West Coast are completely useless, so no excuses for Carlton here. If Carlton are playing finals, they'll win this game by 100 points. And Carlton should play finals because, you know, they're better than Hawthorn, they're better than Brisbane, they're better than Geelong, they're better than Sydney. Like, those 4 teams do not deserve to be in finals. But Carlton, they should be able to absolutely rape West Coast in this one. So those are my tips for the week. Feel free to comment your tips in the comment section down below. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment for more like this. Be sure to become a channel member. Just click the join button next to my name. Also, be sure to subscribe to my premium members, Sean Ducks and Kicking Goals with Nick. Links to both of their channels will be in the description. Also, be sure to subscribe to my other YouTube channels. Be sure to subscribe to my podcast channel, King's Snakes with Stoody. Also, be sure to subscribe to my second YouTube channel, Stoody Archives. Links to both of those will be in the description. Also, be sure to join my Discord server, Discord Australian Sports Community. Link to that is in the description. Also, be sure to follow me on my other social media accounts. I have Instagram, I have Twitter, and also have TikTok. The username for all of those is Stoody YT, and links to all those will also be in the description. I hope you had a good day, and I'll see you all in the next video.